Welcome back to the FloTrack podcast. I'm Kevin Sully, joined by Gordon Mack, FloTrackPodcast@gmail.com. If you'd like to write in, you can find the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and on our website, FloTrack.org/FloTrack Podcast. Gordon, we're talking cross country today. You excited?
Yes, that's all we should be talking about. Nothing else except for sports that involve people running in straight lines or in circles. So that's what podcast this is. This is a straight track podcast. No ifs, ands, or buts. We don't even talk about track here.
So we are going to kick off 4 days of rankings for the cross country season. And you might be saying, hey, isn't the season canceled for pretty much every single team, and isn't the NCAA Championships canceled? And to that, Gordon, your response is what?
That don't stop rankings from happening. I mean, the college football rankings just came out, the preseason rankings. Ohio State was ranked number 2 in the country. And I think every voter knows Ohio State is not playing a season. So we can still rank NAU and BYU. They don't have a season, but we can still rank them. We can still tell you who we think the top 25 individuals, teams are on both the men's and women's side, and debate it, because that's the whole point, just debate it.
And you also spent hours putting this together, so you didn't want to see that go to waste too.
Yes. Yeah, and I did a top 255 ranking, so we're going to put that up as well sometime next week. But yeah, I'm going to spend all this time making rankings and then just delete the Excel file. I can't do that. I got to actually use it. And it's good. It's interesting to look at it, I think. I don't know. I find it somewhat entertaining to look at a preseason ranking of a sport that doesn't exist in 2020. But, it is what it is.
Yeah. And it comes on a week when it's a little bit slower in terms of track and field news anyway. So it's nice to put this in. We have the Sunset Tour Part 2 coming up this weekend. But other than that, it's another week until the Diamond League, another couple weeks until we get another Continental Tour. So this fits in perfectly. We're going to start with men's individual today. And then the rest of the week, we'll do the women's individual and then the teams as well. And by the time you're listening to this, the whole top 25 for the men's individual might be up on the site. So you may be able just to click over there. But this, you get the full explanation. You get the insight into it. So to catch people up, Gordon, what are these rankings based on? What are some of the things you factor in when making this top 25?
So typically, rankings are based off of, this is what a normal ranking is. A normal ranking is based off the past 2 NCAA cross-country championships. So in this case, it would have been the 2019 and 2018 XC championships. It would be based off of the 2020 track season indoor and out. So how you do in the 5K, 10K, sometimes the mile, if you show that you can still handle the 10K in cross-country. So it's based off of the past year's track times, the past 2 cross-country championships, and then also you may input a little flavor of a really good high schooler here or there, or a known international transfer that you just know is good and just hasn't put it up a fast time. You try to find the PRs of, you can't just look at TFers for PRs, right? Because sometimes these European athletes have a fast 5K time that you don't know about. For instance, Portland, he's not in our top 25, but they have a fast guy who's coming in named Stan Neaston, I think his name is. But he's run a fast 5K, sub 1350 or something like that. So knowing that, he's going to be a top 40 performer. So bunch of different dynamics. This year's a little weird, right? Because we had no 2020 track season for them to go off of. You had a couple indoor meets, but it's kind of hard to have a fast indoor 5K where a lot more people kind of break out in the spring and show hey, I have some distance talent that I'm ready to show off in the next cross-country season. We don't know who that is. So various reasons. And then also a little bit of, gut. It's not just a pure mathematical thing. I mean, it is mathematical outside of the top 25. I come up with a rating system outside of top 25. But when you're inside the top 25, I can't purely go off of numbers or like the
Hmm.
the rating formula, because you just know, hey, this guy's been hurt, or this person is just like, this person's a gamer. They've been winning every race they're in. They may not have a fast time, but you know they're going to show up and be top 10. So
Hmm.
that's how we do it. Long-winded answer of I just make it up as I go.
As I say, a little bit of art, a little bit of science
Yeah.
as well too. Yeah. All right. So let's go 25 down to 1, but for these first couple groups, I'll say them in chunks of 5. How about we do that? So 25, you have John Jack Millar, senior from Iona. 24, Curtis Eckstein, senior for Purdue. Drew Bosley, sophomore, Northern Arizona at 23. Athanas Kyoko, senior of Campbell. And then Thomas Ratcliffe, the senior, the transfer from Stanford, now running for North Carolina.
So this group, 4 of those 5, Kyoko, Bosley, Eckstein, and Millar, all finished between 19th and 26th last year. So then for them to be ranked 22nd to 25th kind of makes sense, right? They're kind of staying where they finished last year. No big movement. So it makes sense for them to be where they were. That's the order they finished. They finished 19th, 22nd, 24th, and 26th. And we have them here 22nd, 23, 24, 25. Bosley should still be good. It's kind of crazy. We're like, oh, NAU guy finishing 23rd. He's not the only NAU man in this top 25, which shows how much depth they have. Bosley was their number 1 stick last year, right? I believe.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, and we can just tell you he's not their number 1 stick in these rankings. So it just shows how much depth they have. I think the main name on that list is the senior from North Carolina, Thomas Ratcliffe, who finished 183rd last year. You know, it just shows that we know you're good if we're willing to bump someone who got 183rd all the way up to 21st. And that just shows, because Ratcliffe was a top 10 racer
Mm-hmm.
all regular season. He finished what, third the 5K before. So like he was just on fire. We knew he was going neck and neck with Edwin Kurgat in the season opener, right? And then he just kind of fell apart across at nationals, and it's not the first time he fell apart. He did fall apart his true freshman year. So it's like, oh man, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Well, I'm gonna let you fool me 3 times because I'm gonna rank him in the top 25. So Thomas Ratcliffe, senior, North Carolina.
I think, were there to be a full season, he would have been an interesting pick because he was helped last year so much by the outdoor season, and without having an outdoor season going in, the last result you would have had was a few indoor results, but mostly it was that 180th place finish. So I think people would have put him lower because it wouldn't have been fresh in their mind. Bosley, I think you got too low. Got to be honest. I think you gotta pay a little respect there. Especially, I don't want to give away too much of what comes next, but it is interesting considering the makeup of the rest of your rankings. Yeah, I just think as a true freshman to come in and run 22nd in those horrible conditions, I think just experience alone is going to help give him a little bit of a bump. Kyoko is interesting. Ultimate wild card. You could see him if we did have these championships. You could see him getting 5th, and you could also see him getting 155th. It just he was all over the place within races, and it was entertaining to watch. We learned his name last year, and he was a factor in a lot of big meets. But at nationals, finished only 19th, which is obviously still a good result. But I think he's capable of being a top 5 runner next year, but just not consistent at this point.
Yeah. Next group, man. You excited for this next group?
Okay, so the next group. So now we're going with 20 and down. So 20th, Walid Suleiman, senior from Ole Miss, who was 20th last year. So you have him staying right there, which is good in cross country. If you hold your spot in your top 20, that's good. A lot of times people go backwards. Number 19, Nico Young, the freshman from Arizona. Number 18, Yara Nagus. 17, Devin Meyer from Michigan. And 16, Abdihamid Nur of NAU. So you already have 3 NAUs in here.
We're not done.
Interesting. I know we're not done. So at the very least, you have Bosley becoming NAU's 3rd guy. But right, we're not done. But let's start first by discussing that Young Did you have any trepidation about putting a true freshman at 19?
No, I think he's one of those special true freshmen who will finish top 20. I think he's like Grant Fisher was what finished like 18th or 9th, 17th or 18th his freshman year, true freshman year. I mean, you had someone like Ben Sorrell who was like top 10. I mean, Drew Bosley finished 22nd. I just think that if Drew Bosley can finish 22nd, Nico Young is a lot better than what Drew was coming in to NAU. So I was just like, hey, man, he's got to finish better than what Drew finished. And he had a good 5K time trial. Yeah, he did it by himself. And, talking to the coaches definitely think this is a freak of an athlete. So I feel like he was the one freshman I was willing to give a lot of love to. Sometimes I've overvalued some freshmen. I think I did that a few years ago with Reed Brown. I was like, ooh, Reed Brown, watch out for him. And then he never really turned into something special. But I mean, if you look back at the history of cross country, like we always say, male freshmen tend to not do well because it is a 10K versus a lot of female freshmen. But there are still a lot of true male freshmen who show up and do well. Like at Cheserek did well, obviously. You have Ben Sorrell, Pat Tiernan, Drew Bosley did well here. Futsum Zina Selassie. Like you can keep going off a long list of true freshmen who show up and run well in their first cross country championship. Casey Klinger is another one. So
yeah,
that's why I was like, I feel like he's in that category, and I thought 19th was fair enough. So, and then Yair Nagus. Oh, sorry. What about Nico?
Well, I was just gonna say, but I think with him, just a wide range, right? You wouldn't be surprised by a top 10, but also you wouldn't be surprised that if he hit the freshman struggles in this hypothetical meet. Now he will have a whole year on campus now, or a year at least training under this new system, which I'm assuming will benefit him. But yeah, what were you saying about Nagus?
People kind of forget like Nagus. I think is like one. I think you could argue the best distance runner coming into this next school year. I mean, obviously you have someone like Mance, a Cooper Tier, Gorhalva, but I think Nagus is like the big man on campus right now. And so he finished 46th last year in cross. I think he kind of is definitely the miler at heart, but he ran a really fast 3K indoors. He was on all cylinders. He has a kick. I think his senior year at Notre Dame is the year he would have shown up and be like, all right, I can put together a top 20 finish, kind of like the way Matthew Senchowitz kind of put together a good cross-country finish at Oregon as a miler. There are some milers who are able to put together, and I feel like Yared has had enough years under his belt that he's like, all right, I'm ready to show up and be a cross-country runner. So that's why I put him 18th, even though he finished 46th last year.
Well, somewhat similar to Suleiman in 20th, who's a good miler as well, too. You're talking, when you say best distance runner, you're talking about versatility in the mold of, say, an Oliver Hoare, who can win an NCAA mile title and then still finish top 20 in a 10K cross. Yeah, again, this would have been fascinating to see just what he would have done indoor and outdoor, because there is a world where he does the DMR, obviously, wins that for Notre Dame, comes back the next day because he was entering the 3K. He could have taken down that field, and that would have been a huge win over some really big names. And then if he went on to outdoor and picked up another title there, he could have been a Bowerman guy. He could have been a Bowerman guy for sure. The award, not the track club. I mean,
well, he probably could still be a Bowerman guy, right? I mean, they're he's probably gonna be one of the people they go after next year in 2021. But so him 18th, Devin Meyer 17th, another Michigan. He was 16th last year, 17th projected this year. And then Abdi Hamid Nur, who was 33rd last year. I bumped him up to 16th. Big reason for that was his indoor campaign. NAU got a lot of bump because they're the only ones who really showed up and threw down some fast 5K times, and that kind of helped them get into projections of being in the top 20 here for the 2020 cross-country season. That doesn't exist, that we're talking about. What are your thoughts on Abdi Hamid Nur being 16th now?
No, I think that's fine. I think that's a good a good pick, and that's probably I would have had Bosley around that range. I know Bosley didn't have an indoor season. He redshirted, if I'm remembering correctly. That's
Yeah.
pre-pandemic, so you can't blame me if I forgot something. Yeah, I think I'm big on Nur. It seems like everybody's big on Nur in his first year. Yeah, he was a redshirt, but he ran really well at the big moment. Like he wasn't the reason NAU didn't get the W. He certainly held up his end, and with more training under that system, more experience, I think he's solid, a top 20 guy for sure. Let's go in the top 15 now, though. In 15th, you have Christian Allen, junior, Weber State. 14th, Blaze Farrow of, yeah, you guessed it, NAU. So that's now 4 NAU athletes that we have. Jackson Messler of Oregon at 13. Peter Lynch, senior from Tulsa at 12. And then 11, James Segura of Eastern Kentucky. It's interesting. These 5, like the name ID on those guys is a lot lower than the 5 that you have behind them, just because of track exploits and
Yeah.
other accomplishments. It's interesting the way that broke down.
Yeah, I mean, Messler of Oregon, he's an interesting man. He's finished 73rd, but Messler has run some fast 3Ks, a good 5K. He qualified, I think, in the 5K indoors. I think the reason why Messler and Farrow both make this list is mainly because of their indoor 5K. Again, pandemic, I think those two would not be ranked in the top 15 if we actually had a spring track season, because I think other guys would have started running some fast 5Ks. But right now,
Yeah.
like who's run the best post cross country distance season, and Messler and Farrow are a part of that group. Like they both qualified, they both ran some fast indoor 5Ks, so that's why they're up there. Even though they did finish 73rd and 63rd, they're probably not going to finish that high. If I'll be honest, if I was a betting man, I'll probably say they are more likely to finish in the 30s than in the teens. But Farrow, he's a gamer. He showed up 2 years ago and finished top 25 that year off of like barely any running. He's now a senior. He's going to want it more, right? Messler,
Yeah.
senior of Oregon. I don't know. It's okay.
Well,
I'm okay with it.
they're going to need, Oregon's going to need, to get a high team finish. They're going to rely on someone like Messler. Farrow, they're so deep, you don't need him, but it certainly would be a boon. He's one of those guys that seemingly never runs out of eligibility. It's like, he's still here. Blaze Farrow, he's got another year. Like, that's crazy. And it's usually those are the people because they're really good when they're freshmen, or they're on good teams when they're freshmen, and you just think, oh, that person's probably a junior, and then they just keep coming back. They keep coming back. Obviously, he's had injuries. If he can be healthy, he seems like a huge talent based on watching Running with the Boys, a season with the NAU Lumberjacks, produced by Gordon Mack and starring Mike Smith. Yeah, videography by Jeremy Hayes. He's obviously a carefree guy. He seems like he has loads of talent because he doesn't really train that much, like because of injuries. Like he didn't train in terms of running that much. If that ever gets sorted out, or ever that gets figured out, which I don't even know if that's a solvable problem at this point, then he could slot in where you have him. But I think that would be the most optimistic of circumstances, would be him at 14. Which again, going back to why I think Bosley's too low, I would have Bosley ahead of the 3 other Lumberjacks that you have on this top 25 so far. Because wait, there's more Lumberjacks coming.
Yeah, it's true. So watch out for some. Yeah, hey, you never know. But I think one interesting character here is James Segura, 11th. He was 14th 2 years ago, redshirted all last year. I thought he left Eastern Kentucky, but found out he didn't. He hasn't run in a long time. So his last performance
like ever,
that he
or
ran was in a race for Eastern Kentucky.
Okay.
So the last time he's run was indoors 2019.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a while.
He's good though. He's good. There was going into the 2018 championship, he was thought of as maybe top 5, top 10.
Yeah.
So the 14th place finish that he had in 2018 was lower than his projected finish, I think, going in. I remember we were talking about him as a dark horse, kind of one of the top newcomers to the NCAA season, or at least to that level. He might have had one season before that where he redshirted. But yeah, I could see Segura in the top 10. I could see him in the top 5 if he returns to that 2018 form and just has that better last race. I'm talking about this as if this is going to happen. I'm getting excited. Like, I'm not even doing a bit right now. Like, I'm not even faking it. You've convinced me that this is really happening. This is frustrating.
Hey, maybe it'll
happen.
Now. Maybe it'll happen in the spring.
Okay,
maybe.
This is our spring cross country rankings.
You never know, right?
I think if someone was asleep for the last 6 months and they just woke up, downloaded a podcast, and started playing it, they're like, "Yeah, cross country. We're taking it so seriously now." Let's go to the top 10. Patrick Dever of Tulsa at 10. So you have Tulsa getting 10th and 12th. Maybe that's a little hint at where they might finish in the team race. 9, Casey Klinger, BYU. 8, Morgan Beadlescomb of Michigan State. 7, Alex Masai of Hofstra. And 6, Wesley Bangira of Iowa State.
So a lot of unique players here in this 6 through 10 range. Patrick Dever, though, he finished 11th last year, so he's 10th this year. Part of that senior duo with Peter Lynch. They went 11th and 13th last year. We have them ranked 10th and 12th this year. So, but then the big wild card, I think, newcomer. The big wild card newcomer is Casey Klinger, right? He was 24th 2 years ago in 3 years ago. Now,
3 years ago, yeah.
In 2017, he was 24th. And then he went on a Mormon mission, so he missed 18 and 19. But as a true freshman, he was 24th. So now he's coming in as a sophomore, even though he's the age of a senior, right? He's kind of like the Connor Mance, right? So Klinger, 9th. I think that makes sense. I think he's going to be there. He's going to be the 1-2 punch with Connor Mance. And he kind of helps fill in a void of one of the seniors that that BYU lost. I mean, BYU, I think, had 2 guys in the top 20 or 3, and one of them was a senior, maybe. I'm not sure exactly the numbers. But
they had Carney and Heslington, I think, are the only 2 of their scorers that are not going to be there.
Yeah, so Carney and Heslington. Yeah, whenever the next season is. But maybe they could come. Dude, with this eligibility thing, so if you're BYU, you could have a freshman year, Mormon year number 1, Mormon year number 2, redshirt year, medical redshirt year, sophomore year, junior year, pandemic year, senior year. You could be a 9th year senior.
You think they're still going to give a medical redshirt and on top of a pandemic year?
Yeah.
I guess it would depend what comes.
If you already had it.
Yeah.
BYU, Jacob Heslington technically had an 8th year eligibility.
Yeah.
But I think
Carney was on 8 last year? Wasn't Carney on 8?
Carney, I think, was on 8. Yeah. So there's a bunch of guys who are on 8, but hey, they could get to 9. That's a record. You gotta love it. A decade at college. That's pretty impressive. Almost a decade. Anyway, so Casey Klinger, sophomore BYU. He should help BYU's chances of potentially defending their title of a meet that doesn't exist, but maybe, you never know. Morgan Beadlescomb had a good indoor season. Michigan State, he was 23rd last year, but he's running some fast 5Ks. Alex Masai, he's kind of like a wild card here as well, kind of like Ratcliffe. He finished 127th, just never put together at the big meet. But Masai, he won the Northeast Regional in Vaporflies on a road. And then Masai ran a sub 13:30 5K indoors. And, I just feel like he just has always put it together, not during the actual meet. And I think he's shown that he has a talent to be in the mix of top 10 now that he's in his final year of eligibility at Hofstra. So that's why Alex Masai is there at 7th. What are your thoughts on Masai?
Well, he had the good, bad, good sandwich. Northeast Regional, good. NCAA Championships, bad. Indoor season, good. Yeah. And he didn't get a chance to run it, the indoor championships. Maybe there would have been another good. Maybe he would have got All-American, and then you would totally forget about the 127th. Or maybe he would have gotten 16th again, and then you would have said, okay, this guy should not be in the top 25 in cross.
No,
it's in a way. You would have said it's a double-decker.
it's a double decker good
Sandwich.
bad sandwich. So it'd be good Northeast Regional, bad NCAAs, good regular season, bad NCAAs, and then good cross country. Yeah.
Question mark. Yeah, maybe just alternates. Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
But it's similar to Ratcliffe. It's like good cross country regular season, bad NCAA championships. He didn't really run that much indoors, so it was hard to view with Ratcliffe. I guess you could go backwards with Ratcliffe and say great outdoor season, great regular season cross country, and then bad championship season. Then it's TBD. But Masai stands out there, right? Because he's the only one in the top 25 that finished in the triple digits. Now, Nico Young didn't run in the meet because he was in high school, but everybody else at least finished in the top 100. He stands out, but I think he would be the one exception just because he was really good indoors. Yeah. So I like the pick.
And then
that one's good. I'm not arguing with that one.
Oh,
Tell
nice.
me about
and
Bangura,
then right above
though.
him, yeah, that's another wild card. Bangura, he's basically the best junior college athlete coming in. Junior college has put together some great runners, notably Gilbert Keegan of Alabama. He was a junior college guy. Oh man, I wish I could remember all these junior college, but they put together a lot of good ones, and he's run well. So he's dominated. He's won every race he's in. He won junior college cross country last year, and he ran like 750, I think, in a 3K, which is like, hey, okay, you're putting together some fast like track times. 750 means you would make that. He would have made NCAA indoors D1 last year.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, he's kind of replacing what Kurgat is leaving. I think the coaching there, Iowa State will be able to get him ready to go. They kind of have that culture ready of like, hey, you come in here as a transfer and you compete well. I think he's going into an environment that's going to be good for him, and that's why I think he can finish 6th.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a name that not that many people know, but NJCAA is tough competition. And didn't NJCAA, there was someone people thought was going to be the favorite with Talby, right? Everybody thought the guy who had committed to Florida State was going to be the guy.
Yeah.
And then Bangura came and supplanted him. So there was a guy who was he at 13? What were his PRs? They were really good. And he ended up going the JUCO route, and Bangura beat him decisively. So yeah, he seems legit. I mean, is Jeremy Sudbury? I'm guessing he's optimistic about plugging him into that system there.
Yeah, so he ran a 13:43 5K indoors and a 7:51 3K indoors. Now he won the 5K, but he did lose the 3K at nationals. But he lost by 0.04 seconds. So it was definitely a set and kick of like he lost to this random guy by 0.04. Okay. They were like they both ran 8:07.67, 8:07.71. But then they beat the rest of the field by 13 seconds. So clearly it was just like down to them. So it's okay to lose that. He basically lost to a good miler.
Let's go 5-1 here, but let's take these ones one at a time because we're now into the top 5. And in that 5th spot, you have him improving 1 spot. I like how you give these guys, the gentleman's 1 spot improvement here. And that's Cooper Tier, senior, Oregon.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on Cooper Tier?
My thoughts.
Dramatic pause.
Dramatic pause.
Yeah. What did you see from him indoors? What did you see from him? I mean, that was a tough race to finish 6th in. So big props to him and he's put out some good track times as well too. So it seems to all be coming together for him.
Yeah, I feel like he's had a very good progression in his 4 years at Oregon, or 3 years now at Oregon, of like just maturing year after year after year. I remember I went out to his high school back when he was a senior in high school, and he was trying to break 4 while senior, and I did a workout with him. And, he was just a young kid, like excited about running and like trying to chase a sub 4 mile, and just like living that life. And then you come into Oregon and he goes from like, like that happy-go-lucky high school kid to like, all right, now I'm in a system, like I'm in the Oregon system, and they eat you up and chew you out if you're not able to like compete at the next level. And his freshman year, he was like solid, but like each year he's like become more and more like of an established presence at Oregon and more of like the number one guy, right? He's become like, all
Hmm.
right, like, and I think that really showed when he was the anchor for the DMR that broke the national record last year. I was like, you're taking a 5K guy and he's your anchor. And I think that showed like, all right, we just have a lot of trust in Tier. You know, like typically you that's what you normally do. It's weird. Like NAU when they were trying to they put their anchor was you would think, oh, you'd put Jordy Beamish on the anchor for when they were trying to run a fast 5K. They put Tyler Day because they're like, you put a 5K guy who's like, he's gonna grind it and go for it. You know, like when Stanford was running fast, they put Sean McGorty on the anchor, or Morgan McDonald was the anchor for Wisconsin as opposed to Oliver Hoare because they're like more veteran presence, right? And I just felt like the trust in Tier has grown over time. This is a long-winded answer to say the guy's matured and he's good now, and he's like,
He's older than he
hey, I
was.
can run I'm a sub 1330 type guy.
Yeah.
This is going to be a year where like I'm trying to stretch to try to become in the 1320s. Like he's gonna be like the Joe Klecker of last year, basically. He's just like Mr.
Okay.
Consistent, always there in the mix with in the top 5 in every, elite race that he enters. And so that's why I have him 5th.
Worked out pretty well for Klecker. I mean,
Yeah.
getting second in cross was good. I mean, his junior year runs were awesome too. But you can't say anybody had a great season because there was 1/3 of the season was
That's true.
completed. So, I mean, not Vincent Kiprop. Edwin Kurgat had a great season on the men's side of things.
Yeah.
I mean, Mance, he had a great season, but then he got hurt indoors. He had a great cross and then got hurt. But Klecker, I think, exceeded expectations last year. Number four, the 5th member of the NAU Lumberjacks in this top 25, Luis Grijalva, the senior, have him moving up from 52nd last year. Gordon, explain.
Yeah. Well, if you look at that result, the guy who we have projected to get 4th, who finished 52nd last year, maybe that was a big reason why they didn't win, right? If your guy who we think and the world thinks is like a top 5 runner, but for some reason they finished 52nd last year, that was a big reason why they didn't, go win the 4-peat, right? When there's some of their top guys like the Beamishes, Grijalvas, they just weren't able to be in the teens. They were in the 50s or in the 40s, and that was a big reason why they didn't win. I think Grijalva, though, in whatever form of indoor season that we got, he was on a mission. He was running lights out. He was basically putting that 52nd behind him and just running nonstop. We talk about that, the unknown mile that he ran at Flagstaff in the dome where he broke, what do you run, like 401 at 7,000 feet or something like that?
It was converted. They were saying, 356 or something?
No, it was faster than that converted. It was probably like 352
Faster?
converted. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, he ran
342. Let's just keep going with the conversions. A converted world record is what he ran in the
there
dome.
you go.
Everything in the dome.
Basically, he was the one guy who, of all people, who really wanted to run indoors. Obviously, the seniors wanted to run, but he just wanted to get the cross country season off his back, right? And he needed a championship to do that. Now he had to wait till this fake cross country championship that he doesn't get to compete at either.
Yeah.
But he would have finished top 5, and that's why we have him 4th.
Yeah, it's hard to argue just based on how good he was during indoor and what he had done previous. You have to take out that one bad performance. And with him, it isn't even a good, bad, good sandwich. It's a good, 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 good. One blip in the radar, and then everything else is good. So I'm willing to chalk that up as an aberration. Now that we have all of it, you don't have any more NAU people in the top 25. Is that correct? Can we say that definitively?
I mean, maybe. I don't know. We'll find out. I might change the rankings up.
That's the last one. So your
Ryan
NAU,
Raff, man. What about Ryan Raff? Can find a way to get him in there.
Ryan Raff's going to be on that squad. Your hypothetical NAU top 5, the order you have is Grijalva, then you have Farrow, Nur, Bosley,
No, Young
Wait, hold on.
and then
I skipped.
Bosley.
Sorry, Young. Yeah. Nur, Young, and Bosley. I would put Bosley at the number 2. I think Grijalva certainly would go in as the number 1. I would probably slide Farrow back to 5, and then I think you're on the right track there. Still,
So, but look at this.
you
So,
also could have.
go. What
I
are you
mean,
gonna say?
well, I was just say, let's take Birdie Hasty, another guy like Bosley who didn't run indoors, right? And I think they got punished for that, just like Bosley did, which I get it because they don't have times. So other people who are going to run fast times, you have more data to put in there. But Hasty was 45th, if I'm remembering correctly. There's a
Yeah, he
lot of
beat
people in
he
here.
beat Nagoose.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in here who finished below him in cross. So you could also have Hasty as a legit top 25 runner, and also Raf. Raf was a qualifier in the 5,000. He could be there as well too. What I'm saying is NAU would have been solid. What I'm saying is they've been solid. You would not have been around to bother them last year. We all know the distraction was what cost them the 4-peat. And
Oh,
without
come
you
on,
and
don't say that.
Jeremy
That's not.
poking around with your camera, then we could be looking
Don't
at
let Mike get that in his
5
idea. That don't let Mike
he
get in
doesn't
his
listen.
idea that was that was the reasoning. But yeah,
He
so we
doesn't.
have him
Well,
finishing 4th, 14th, 16th, 19th, 20th, and 23rd. It's pretty good.
that's optimistic. I'll just say that. That's an optimistic viewpoint of they're good. They are good, but that's optimistic. That
It
would
is
be at the
optimistic.
I'd say at the 85th percentile of possible NAU outcomes. Number 3, Isai Rodriguez, junior, Oklahoma State. He would have hypothetically been running on his home course. He didn't make the meet last year due to injuries, but he was 4th in 2018, the surprise of the top 10. And it sounds like home course, recovery from injury, you'd be betting on him to get back in that same spot.
Yeah, him not making it last year was 100% just purely an injury reason. It wasn't a fitness. It was just like he was hurt. I mean, he was running hurt all year long. He was able to even finish like top 5 at pre-nats, I think, last year, right?
He
I
got
forget where he
third. He
finished
got
at pre.
third.
He got third at pre-nats, but then
Third.
he just, I think he got second to Kurgat at Big 12s, and then he just fell apart with injury. Like I said, like you said, home course, that's going to be huge. It kind of sucks, right? I kind of feel bad for Dave Smith because I'm sure he was thinking like, hey, I could have my Morgan McDonald moment, right? He probably saw McDonald win on his home course, saw he had a freshman get 4th in that race, and was like, wait a minute, he's going to be a junior, and we're going to host it. We're going to have this moment where we could have one of our own athletes win on this home course, but pandemic had other ideas. So you kind of feel bad for that. But Isai Rodriguez, good runner. We haven't seen him much. He hasn't really done much on the track. He's kind of been MIA on the track, maybe around a 1350 here or there, but he's a gamer in cross. So we think on your home course, the projected home course, he's going to finish top 3.
Yeah, you're right. And it is interesting because his PB is just listed just as a 1353 from the West Prelim in 2018. That's, of course, before he had his big breakthrough that fall in the cross country season. But then that indoor season after that, he didn't run NCAAs. He didn't run the NCAA indoor meet. So he hasn't run in any national championship since that cross country season. Not indoor, not outdoor, and obviously not last cross country season as well too. So yeah, he definitely has some question marks around him, but the talent is obviously still there. And if this meet does get, if we're treating this as a spring, have we talked about that? If this gets pushed to the spring, it would still be in Stillwater then, right? Or we haven't even got that far down the road, have we?
I'm thinking it would be. Yeah, I assume so.
Okay. So it'd be good. That'd be good. He'd have a chance.
Yeah.
I think he'd have a shot at the win. All those things combined. Number two, Amon Kemboy, senior, transfer to Arkansas, who was 8th last year, competing for Campbell. What do you think about Kemboy?
Yeah, I mean, he's a big reason why Arkansas was going to be the surprise of 2020 on the team side. They have a bunch of transfers. We'll talk about more when we talk about where we're ranking Arkansas in the top 25. But Arkansas finished 30th last year. We're going to have them finish a lot better than 30th this year. Big reason for that is they have a good low sick in Kemboy. He's been consistent, running well for Campbell. Arkansas, I feel like it should be no different. Yeah. I mean, he did finish 8th last year, so he did lose to like Cooper Tier last year, and I guess that's it, right? I guess he lost to Mance and Tier.
Mance, Tier, that's pretty much it. Yeah, but consistency is the name of the game with this guy. So many All-American finishes, not just in indoor, outdoor, cross, like all across the board. I think he's solid. Like you can't go wrong with him. And maybe going to Arkansas is the jump start that he needs. I know there's obviously a lot of talented athletes at Campbell, but maybe just a fresh start with a different training approach, different teammates, different structure of the season. Maybe that'll really benefit him. This and is also just like I'm not.
Oh, sorry.
I would just say I'm not going to argue with this pick. This is a good. This is. I mean, I think he's one of the few like locks for top 10 that are out there.
Yeah, and also, I mean, it's gonna be first time that he's gonna have like a team with him, right? He's been running individually. He's been like going through the motions of like being in the individual corral with where you're just you're next to Coastal Carolina and some guy from and Hofstra and whatever. You know, now he's gonna be with his teammate, like where there's like you're just like he's gonna be invested in what their fifth man is doing a lot more. You know, it's gonna be a lot more of a different. It's a different environment. Going to NCAAs as an individual is very different from going to NCAAs on a team. So that will, I feel like, help him get more motivated to be like, hey, not only if I run well for myself, but like I run well for the team. You know, so
yeah, no, there's a lot of reasons to like him here. Sort of like Rodriguez with the home course factor. With Kemboy, you have running with a team for the first time, which would seem to provide that boost. We come now to number 1. His name has been brought up a couple times. No surprise. Connor Mance Jr. from BYU, the top returner. He was 3rd last year. He, remember, tried to run the marathon trials last February, got hurt, had to take some time off. And Icestone says he's back to 100%. So if there was a season this year, he'd be ready to go. Whenever there's a season, you have to like this guy. And everything we know about the Stillwater course is it's challenging. I think that would have played into Mance's favor. Was there any debate in your rankings about him being at the top?
No, there's not another person out there who can like really sniff his shorts. Is that the phrase? I don't know what the phrase is. Sorry, you probably were gonna clip. You were gonna clip this and use it, but like, Mance is our number 1, and you're gonna use this whole segment for a video, and I just used a bad analogy.
Try it again. Connor Mance, number 1. What do you think?
No one can. I think no one can really. What's that phrase when you can't? You're not even. You know what I'm trying to say?
Let's try this for the 3rd time. Gordon, Connor Mance, what do you think?
I think he is a big favorite, probably 2-1 favorite if there was gambling in cross country, which would be amazing, by the way. If I can make odds up for every single runner, people be hedging bets, doing parlays here and there. Oh, it'd be so great. We should figure out.
Connor Mance, what do you think?
But yeah, he's top returner. He got injured, but per coach, he's healthy again. No one really else in this field has really shown that they can grind with Mance. The way he runs races is a very unique style. He's not a patient runner. He's just a go from the gun type runner. I imagine you'd still do that. And be interesting to see. I mean, he's listed as a junior, but is he a 5th? What year did he graduate high school?
So in 2018, he was a redshirt freshman after 2 years off. So that would have been his 4th year out. So I think he graduated high school in is he 14? Do you graduate high school in 14? I think that's when he graduated high school. Yeah.
Because graduated high school in 15.
Okay, sorry,
So
my mistake.
15, 16, 17, 18,
Oh
19,
yeah. So so
20.
this will be his 6th year. But
So he's
this
the sixth
well,
year.
yeah, but so 7th year will be his. Is he a junior? Yeah, 7th year will be his junior year. If assuming the pandemic one more year and we do this in 2021. Yeah. You mentioned his racing style. He was a bit more patient last year because he certainly had the ability to do what Peter Sufer did last year. And I
Yeah.
know Ed Eyestone's been working with him on adjusting that. But with this field in this hypothetical race, Gordon, I think he might have just said, "Hey, let's just go for it. Let's just go. Let's just do
Yeah.
a big move at 5K, or even let's just stretch this thing out from the gun." Because I think he would have been that he would feel that confident against these runners. There isn't a Kurgat or a Klecker in here. He is the guy that everybody would be keying off of. And I don't think he'd want it to come down to that last stretch. He can close. He has shown that he can close. But I think another year or 2 years, however long it takes for Manch, just gives him a little bit more time to get even stronger and even more confident that he can go from farther out. And I don't think he needs that much more confidence anyway, but just more time to develop even further and recover from
Yeah.
the injury too.
I think if you were to go from the gun, I think the one to challenge him the most would be Isaid Rodriguez, because I think he would just be like,
Yeah.
whatever, and just go for it and see how long he can hold on before he gets dropped. But yeah, Mance, he would be the heavy favorite in this hypothetical meet that might happen in the spring, right? We still might happen in the spring, even though it's probably not going to happen in the spring, but it might. Let's hold on to might. But yeah, Mance, number one. So only two
And
BYU in the top 25, but they're two in the top 10. 5 NAU in the top 25. 2 Tulsa. Anyone else? Double. There's 2 Oregon.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Any other
I was going to ask.
duos?
I know you don't want to go too much into the team stuff right now, but since we are talking men's individuals, how much farther outside of the top 25 do you have to go to find another BYU runner?
Oh, not far at all. That's the
Okay,
thing
because I was
about
going to say.
a lot of times, these rankings, are a little bit, you think oh, the arbitrary cutoff of top 25 just feels a little harsh sometimes, in my opinion. And so you're like,
Mhm.
it's actually a lot closer than you think. Let me try to find. I'm going to bring up the
I mean, I'm
secret
guessing.
list.
Okay, so I'm guessing someone like Owens or Garnica or Shumway, who was hurt last year. You could make arguments for all of them being in the top 30. Certainly, I think this would have been really
Yeah.
close between them and
So yeah,
NAU.
so Garnica, Shumway, and Owens are all in that top 50, I would say. Yeah.
Okay, all right. I I don't know. Thinking about, well, I don't want to go too much in the team race. We'll leave that for the team one.
Yeah.
I think it would have been a really close race, and I think it maybe could have shaken out the same way the Arkansas BYU women's battle did last year, where they went like almost tit for tat. Like I know BYU had those 3 in all together, but then it was like, okay, where's their 4? Okay, 4. Okay, where's their 5? Like the matchups were really interesting across the board. But yeah, Mance leads the way there at number 1. So followed by
I will
Kemboy,
tell you,
Rodriguez, Grijalva, and Tier in the top 5.
yeah, I will tell you the number 26th runner, who's not in this top 25, we'll give a big shout out,
Ooh,
is the freshman from Alabama, redshirt freshman, Iliad Kipsang.
there we go.
There you go.
Iliad Kipsang combining 2 very fast marathoners' names into one.
So you never know.
What could go wrong?
We thought he was going to be, apparently he was beating Kiprop and Keegan in workouts last year, but then couldn't get in the race because of eligibility wise. So watch
Okay.
out.
There he is. Yeah.
So
I mean, go ahead.
No, sorry. I keep on interrupting you. I'm the worst podcast host ever.
No, it's fine. Go ahead. I don't remember what
I was going to say, let's go through the list of people who are still running. So technically, you have the number 2, 3, 6, 10, 12, 18, 20, and 21 runners still eligible, because that is from Arkansas, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, Tulsa. American Conference is still going. Notre
Yeah.
Dame, Ole Miss, and North Carolina. So if we were to have a meet, if you were to have like a fake try championship, which might happen, let's be honest, that might happen. So, but if that does happen, Tulsa won't be invited because it would only be Power Five. So if we were to have this Big 12, ACC, SEC, I think we would have Kemboy, Rodriguez, Bangura, Nagus, Suleiman, and Ratcliffe. So those six. Imagine they would break away
Mhm.
from the pack right away. It's a different dynamic now because smaller fields, right? Who would you
Yeah.
take if that was the race? If you had Kemboy, Rodriguez, Bangura, Nagus, Suleiman, and Ratcliffe.
I'm running in Stillwater, even though we don't know what type of form he's in. I go with Rodriguez.
Yeah.
I go with him to get ready. Weird season. I think the fact that you wouldn't have to travel would be a big plus this year. So I go Rodriguez, and I would take
I would
Arkansas in
go,
the team race.
yeah. I think Nagus would win that race. I think the smaller the field, the better the kicker becomes. And I just think that he would be the one that would win, in my opinion.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we might know, we might not. I know North Carolina, they don't have any students on campus anymore, and North Carolina State suspended athletics for the time being. So we'll see. Speaking of North Carolina, real quick before we go, is every good recruit going to just go to the state of North Carolina now between NC State and North Carolina? Oh my goodness. North Carolina yesterday got, help me out with this, Bryn Brown and Sydney Massarelli. Again, Miles Split knows more about this than I do. And they got a third woman as well too. You combine that with NC State, who got like all of the state of North Carolina or all the state of New York last year. Tui,
Yeah,
Starlipper,
Tui and
and
Starlipper. Yeah.
yeah, they have the Fab Five, and they had three other women who were NXN people. Like North Carolina has become like the state of North Carolina has become like Oregon and Stanford. Like it's just insane what's going on over there. Do you
Yeah.
know what's happening?
And it,
Is it Milt with North Carolina? I don't know.
I mean, it's definitely Milt. It's kind of interesting. I mean, Milt just was smart and got ahead of it, maybe. I don't know. Like Bryn Brown came on late, right? She, I guess, came on during the pandemic, right? Because that's when she ran her fast 2 mile time. And I just maybe as soon as the window opened for recruiting, which was maybe July or January or July or June, Milt just
Yeah,
had her
yeah.
number on speed dial and clicked it at 12:01 midnight and was like, boom, full ride, say yes, and then hung up and it's like, we're done.
It's efficient recruiting. NC State has done a good job recruiting for a while there, but just the quantity that they got all at the same time was astounding. And then you combine that with what North Carolina did. I think we're seeing a shift in the balance of power, especially when it comes to recruiting for the women's side. It's remarkable.
Yeah, we gotta get an NC State North Carolina dual meet going next year. That'll be fun.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is just it's like you want to see the top talent like distributed evenly, but then it is also interesting to see it go to a place where now Shalane Flanagan went to North Carolina. So let's not talk about North Carolina being this unheard of distance program. And NC State
Shannon
has been
Roberry,
good. Duke, yeah, and NC State's been good for decades as well too. But it is interesting just to see, oh, whoa, all of them decided to go to North Carolina. That's crazy. All right, we'll leave it there. FloTrackPodcast@gmail.com. Lincoln and Gordon, I think, will be back tomorrow to talk about. Are you gonna do women's individuals tomorrow?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, women's individuals tomorrow. Maybe they'll talk about NC State, some NC State runners, maybe some Wolfpack in the top 25. Thanks to Alon for producing. Talk to you guys soon.